Shalom and welcome to this week's fixing of the camera. Welcome to this week's lifestyle video. Today I'm going to be answering the 36 questions to fall in love. I wanted to do some kind of like get to know you video, and I mean obviously this isn't big enough to do like an ask me anything, and so I was like I don't know what to do, but I have these 36 questions to fall in love that I thought might be fun. Any questions about like you and your partner, obviously I'm gonna have to skip because it's just me. It's just me. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna get in here. Question 1. Given the choice of anyone in the world, whom would you want as a dinner guest? I don't think this is gonna come as a shock to anyone, but I would want Taylor Swift as my dinner guest. I love her music. I'm a huge fan of hers, and she also just seems like a fun person to be around. So she would be fun as a dinner guest. Question 2. Would you like to be famous? In what way? I mean, I want my YouTube channel to be successful, and that involves some level of fame, but I don't want like big enough fame where people are taking pictures of me on the street, or I am having to like hire security so people don't attack me. And of the things that I want to be famous for, I mean, this YouTube channel is also like really awesome, and I love this YouTube channel, but I have a lot of other things that I want to do, like charitable things, and you know, I want to start an orchestra, a charity orchestra. I want to build a community center for teens. I'd rather honestly be known for those things and not. Before making a telephone call, do you ever rehearse what you're going to say and why? Yes. Absolutely, because I am anxious and once I get anxious, I have a hard time remembering things. And so if I don't rehearse ahead of time, I may end up talking too much, or I may just forget why I'm calling. What would constitute a perfect day for you? A day where I don't have to go to work, and a day where I don't have to go to school, and I can just spend all day doing what I want with who I want. So like I can spend time with my family, watching movies or something, or going out and, you know, playing in the yard, or just doing fun things and no obligations monetarily or socially. That's what I would like. When did you last sing to yourself or to someone else? Okay, to myself, probably 5 minutes ago. That is something I do all the time. I was probably singing as I started this video. To somebody else, probably Saturday night. I babysat my nephew and put him to sleep for the night, and he has this little lullaby routine that you go through. There's like 5 songs that you sing. So I sang to him and sang his lullabies so he would go to bed. If you were able to live to the age of 90 and retain either the body or mind of the 30-year-old for the last, wait. If you were able to live to the age of 80 and retain either the mind or the body of a 30-year-old for the last 60 years of your life, which would you want? I'd say body probably, because not everybody's minds go kaput, let's say the nice way, in the last 60 years of their life. That's not the case for everybody. Some people are like perfectly lucid, and the only reason they're limited in what they can do is because of their body. So if I get to 90 and I have time and money to do things, I'm gonna want to be able to physically do them. If I want to go hike, I want to be able to physically do that. And I don't want the last 60 years of my life to be sitting in bed not being able to do anything. So okay, question 7. Do you have a secret hunch about how you will die? Woo! Well, if it's not of natural causes, my guess is some kind of stupid accident, like falling off of a roof or out of a tree, or maybe a car accident, just because I'm stupid and I'm clumsy, and I have a good hunch that I will inadvertently cause my own death by doing something stupid. Name 3 things you and your partner have in common. I don't have a partner. Okay, number 9. For what in your life do you feel most grateful? That is a good question. Probably my family. I have a really big family. I've got 5 amazing siblings, and I've got 2 parents. My parents are still together, and I have all these beautiful nieces and nephews, and I honestly feel pretty sad for only children sometimes because I could not imagine life without, you know, without this. This is what I grew up with, having people in the house all the time and having people, you know, look at this picture. I can't imagine not having someone to do these goofy things with. Like, I'm going to play video games with my siblings later today. I couldn't imagine like having to have friends. That's the thing about having siblings, is you have built-in friends for life. And I'm really grateful for that. If you could change anything about the way you were raised, what would it be? If I could change something, it would be that we moved away from my childhood home and my childhood town. We only moved like 20 minutes away, 20 miles away. But that move was very significant, and every day I think about our old house and every day I miss it. That is the house that I grew up in. I know every corner and every nook and cranny in that house, and it makes me really sad that we don't live there anymore. And our new house is nice, but it's not where we were living. We were living in a town that was so small, it was considered a village. And that meant that our town is really peaceful, relatively. So out where we were, there were no street lights, there was no sirens, no people with giant political signs in their yards. Like, it was, we had lots of space to run around and do things and places to explore and things to dig, and we just don't have that in our new house. We're in a bigger town. It's still small, but it's bigger comparatively. And that also was an issue in school, because in our old town, I was top of the class because there was like 90 of us. And so I didn't have, the academic standards were lower, so I didn't have to try as hard. And when I could try a normal amount, and I was top of the class and doing really well. But then I transferred to this new school and I was absolutely swamped. Everything was so much harder there. The class was bigger and the kids were meaner. And on my graduation day, the top like 3 or 4 students, the students who had won every single scholarship, admitted that they had been cheating the entire time. And that made me really upset because I couldn't see something like that happening in the other town. That's probably what I would change, that we moved from the smaller town to a slightly bigger one, and we left our house behind and our school behind where I was doing really well. Okay, take 4 minutes and tell your partner your life story. I don't have a partner, but I'll tell you my life story in 4 minutes. Okay. I was born in San Diego, California, and I don't remember much about being there. I think we moved when I was like maybe less than 1. We lived in Utah for a hot minute. We lived in a small town in Michigan for a hot minute. Not that small town, a different small town. So let's call it small town number 1, because I don't want to admit where I live. Small town number 1, that's where we lived. And then we went overseas for a year. My dad is a political science professor, and he specializes in democracies in Southeast Asia. So we went on sabbatical and we visited several places in Southeast Asia, and I don't remember them all. I was 3. We stayed in the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, maybe somewhere else. I can't remember. It all kind of blurs together. So we moved from there to small town number 2. Down here, small town number 2. And we lived there for like 8 or 9 years, I think. I think I was 4 when we moved there, and then I was 12 or 11 when we left. And we had my 2 younger sisters. Well, my mom had my 2 younger sisters while we were there. So that's where our whole family came together. We spent our days gallivanting about in the cornfield by our house and generally running amok. And I really loved that house with all my heart. And let's see, we were PBS kind of kids. So we watched Arthur, and we watched Cyber Chase. We also watched a lot of Phineas and Ferb growing up, so that was fun. I was a big Barbie girl. I was a big Disney girl. Yeah. And then when I was 12, we moved from that small town number 2 back to small town number 1, a different house. And it's only like 500 feet from our, like anyways, we moved back to small town number 1, and I started middle school there, and it sucked. It sucked so hard. And it was fine. It was fine. I lived, it was fine. We were there for a couple of years, and then we went on a sabbatical again. This time we spent 7 months in Bangkok, Thailand, and then 5 months in Canberra, Australia. We were homeschooled for that entire year, and it was actually really good. It was probably my best academic year ever, because it was like, hey kids, our history lesson today is going to the Australian Parliament building. Have fun. Or my science lesson would be to help my brother with his chemistry experiments, and that was really fun. I liked doing that. Then after that sabbatical, we moved back to that small town number 1 house. It was the same house. And we stayed there until I graduated. And throughout graduation, or throughout my high school years, I had a lot of difficulties. I was in theater, I was in choir. I also acquired anxiety and depression. Well, I had anxiety my whole life, but I acquired anxiety 2.0 and depression, and that was really fun. And I loved it. And okay, then I graduated, and then I came to school out west here in Utah, and I have been at this school for too long, and I count down every second until I graduate. I graduate this December, and I'm so freaking excited. I'm so done with this school. I am so done. I'm majoring in psychology with a minor in music, and that is about our 4 minutes. Yeah, I did it. Okay, if a crystal ball could tell you the truth about yourself, your life, the future, or anything else, what would you want to know? I would want to know what I need to do to be successful fiscally. And the reason that is because I am a poor college student who wants to move to a certain town in Utah because that's where all my family's from. And it is just not possible because it is so expensive to live there now, and it makes me really upset. And I'm looking for an apartment right now because my lease is up in August, and everything here is so expensive. And if I was all-knowing and I knew exactly what I needed to do to earn like $1 million in a year, I would do it. I would do it. I don't need any more truth about myself, I think. I mean, I don't have every truth about myself, but I don't really care to know that. I don't want to know what my biggest flaw is. Is there something that you've dreamed of doing for a long time? Why haven't you done it? I have dreamed of conducting, that's the word. Conducting, leading, and like starting a giant band, orchestra, choir, like combined thing to do, to put on concerts for charity as like just a fun thing. And I want to do soundtrack pieces because a lot of soundtrack pieces will have a full orchestra and a band and some vocal parts to it. I've always wanted to do that, and the reason why I haven't is because I'm still in school. I don't have time, and I also want that degree because I don't feel like people would trust me enough to be led by me if they don't see that I have that background in music and psychology. I'd like to be old enough to be able to like run it really well. What is the greatest accomplishment of your life? I honestly don't know. I mean, I'll say this. I had a poem win a national poetry contest, and it got published. I might have that poetry book in here. I don't know. But I had a poetry piece that I wrote published in a national book, and it was really cool. What do you value most in a friendship? Effort. I'm putting in effort, and you expect me to put in effort, then you also better be putting in effort. I understand that friendships and relationships are not 50-50 all the time, but it shouldn't be 100-0 all the time. And I've had too many friendships and too many relationships where I was putting in all of the effort and the other person was just coasting on everything I gave them and just kind of being like, this is a great friendship. I'm getting everything out of this and putting nothing in. And I hate that. What is your most treasured memory? Probably this past June, my family and I went on like a family reunion vacation. It was the first time in a long time that we had every single person in our family there. All of my siblings, all of the spouses, all of our nieces and nephews. And there was just the one moment when we were eating dinner. We were eating taco salad. We were all just sitting around the table having a good time and chatting, and I was like, this is a really sweet moment that I probably will never get back. And it just made me feel so happy. And I can think of a million, usually just involving my nieces and nephews, because I think they're the sweetest people. And on a less sentimental note, probably when Taylor Swift played Betty, or no, not Betty, she played Cardigan, and she made eye contact with me in the Eras tour. Like, that was a defining moment in my life. What is your most terrible memory? See, the people who ask this question, I'm like, that's a cute question. If your life hasn't really been that hard. I would say probably the moment, okay, trigger warning, I'm gonna talk about some mental health stuff. I admitted myself to the emergency room last year and for suicidality. And probably the moment that the doctor told me I was going to be put in inpatient treatment for an undisclosed amount of time. And I'm laughing and smiling because I know it turned out well, and I know the psych ward was a really great place for me, but that was like the hardest moment of my life when I realized I'm not going home tonight, and I don't know when I am, and I don't even know where I'm going, and I don't know what's going to happen to me. Okay, if you knew in 1 year that you would die suddenly, would you change anything about the way you are now living? Why? Yes, I would quit college. Because none of this matters if I'm gonna die in a year. And then I would spend all of my time, I would get a job doing something. I would probably start selling the things that I have, and I would really start putting every cent I had into charity and building those charities and building organizations and setting them up so someone would take them over when I was gone. Because if my money, I'm not gonna take my money with me, and the whole reason I'm trying to earn money now is so I can like put my money into my business and then earn money so I can do charities, because that is what I care about. What does friendship mean to you? It means do you want the psychology answer, which is friendship is companionship, and it is loving support through all times of your life, and it's support in a whole lot of different ways: physical, emotional, fiscal, sometimes, not for everyone. Don't just give money to people, but sometimes it can be fiscal support. Yeah, just means support. What roles do love and affection play in your life? Again, that's kind of a weird question. They play a big role in my life because there's a lot of love and affection in my family, and I spend a lot of time making sure they can feel my love and affection for them. And in general, I want this channel and I want the things I do to have a spirit of love and affection and just joy. I want that in my life. Okay. Alternate sharing something you consider a positive characteristic of your partner. Share a total of 5 times. I don't have a partner. How close and warm is your family? Do you feel your childhood was happier than most other people's? My family's very close. We know everything about each other, and come on, man, this thing coming out again. We're a pretty warm family, I feel like. We're very supportive of each other, and I mean, any picture you have of us, we're smiling or doing something really silly and stupid. I don't know if my childhood was like happier compared to most people, because I mean, pain and joy are relative experiences. So I don't know, I don't know, but I do know I'm grateful for the childhood I did have with my parents who were still together, and good siblings, none of which turned into like drug lord serial killers. And they're all still in my life, and I was very lucky to not have any like really deep, sad childhood trauma, no deaths in the family. So my childhood was pretty happy because of those things. How do you feel? How do you feel about your relationship with your mother? I'm not sharing that on YouTube. I'm happy with my relationship with my mom because my mom is still in my life and she's a very supportive person. I understand that these questions are not meant to be posted on the internet, but like, that's an invasive question. That's not, if this is meant to be first date, this is not a first date question. Okay, set 3. Make 3 true we statements. For instance, we are both in this room feeling, it's just me. Complete this sentence. I wish I had someone with whom I could share rent with. That's how I want to finish that sentence. I wish I had someone who I could share rent with so I could actually get an apartment that isn't a bucket on the ground with a little sponge in it as a bed. That's what I wish. If you were going to become a close friend with your partner, please share what would be important for him or her to know. Hypothetically, were I to have a partner, probably that I have a very set plan for what I want my life to turn out. Not like it's, I guess I should say there's a place that I am trying to live at. If I can't live there now, if I have to move somewhere else for now, I am planning on going back to that place. So if you don't want to live there, then that's not gonna work. Tell your partner what you like about them. Don't have a partner. Share with your partner an embarrassing moment in your life. Okay, my family's gonna die laughing because they know this story. But when I was 13, I went to Hong Kong with my dad. And this is when we were living in Thailand, and the fare to Hong Kong was like 50 bucks from Thailand. So just took a little day trip or a weekend trip. We were in line for something. I think it was a train or something like that. And there was a guy standing behind us who was like genuinely brooding. If you saw someone brooding in real life, like that was this man. Like dark, he looked like the guy from Ratatouille come to life. And I thought I whispered to my dad, "Dad, that guy behind us is kind of scary." And the woman next to him went, "Oh, he's not that scary in real life. Cut it out, Mac, you're scaring the kids." And I was like, this is one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. I got caught in 4K and like, I learned, do not talk about people in front of them because it's embarrassing and I'm so embarrassed by that story. When did you last cry in front of another person? Saturday. I was crying at work. By yourself. Saturday. Tell your partner something you like about them already. Don't have a partner. What, if anything, is too serious to be joked about? Suicide. If you were to die this evening with no opportunity to communicate with anyone, what would you most regret not having told someone? Why haven't you told them yet? I really don't know the answer to this question. There's not a lot that I guess there's nothing that really has to be said that I haven't said already. I have things that like, I might talk to you about that someday, but there's nothing like, I'm going to talk to you about that someday, just not now. My parents and my family know pretty much everything that's important about me. I don't keep any like huge secrets from them. I don't know, I guess in a less serious note, I would regret not getting the last word in some of these, like this last situationship I was in. It would be really nice if I could just like talk to this person and just tear him to pieces verbally. Your house containing everything you own catches fire. After saying your loved ones and your pets, you have time to safely make a final dash to save any one last item. What would it be and why? I would save this. Only because I thought immediately, like, I've got all these expensive things that would be such a pain to replace, but like, you could replace that. I have this torn up envelope. Every note that my mom has ever put in like a letter for me, like, here's the proof of insurance for the Prius. just pop it in the car, but don't take out the old one. It doesn't expire until I've saved every single note that she's ever put in there. And then like this little Amazon note where she wrote, just for funsies, Mom. And this one says, Laura, to share with person who is not in my life anymore because they are a horrible person. To divide out, conversation hearts. Like everything she's ever written. And you know, this little note that my grandma wrote, Laura's boots. She labeled these boots that I left at their house. I save them because I like saving handwriting, and I know someday my mom will not be around anymore, and I know someday my grandmother won't be around, and so I want to have these things that they've written. Like my mom draws these fun little hearts, and I've got some from my dad too, like this card from my mom. I have this really great one from my dad. Where is it? I made my mom a calendar and she sent me this picture of her holding it, where she put it up. The calendar is up and it works perfectly. I would feel so sad if I lost this. And actually, I had another bag that had a whole bunch of these in them, and I did lose it. I don't know where it went, and I was so sad. I texted my mom and I said, this is really stupid, but would you mind sending me an envelope of sticky notes? And so she sent me an envelope. I mean, here's one my dad did. Belly dancing Batman. But it's just all these little, just all these notes that my parents and my sisters, and I would feel so sad if I lost this, because it has a lot of really great little drawings and handwriting and just bits of love that I like to look through. I mean, you can't tell me that if you're in a bad mood and you see belly dancing Batman that you wouldn't immediately feel better. Like, come on. Okay. Of all the people in your family, whose death would you find most disturbing and why? This is a horrible question. I'm gonna go across the board and say any of my nieces and nephews because they are so young. What a question. Okay. Share a personal problem and ask your partner's advice on how he or she might handle it. Also ask your partner to reflect to you how you seem to be feeling about the problem that you've chosen. I don't have a partner, but this is the last question. So let's see. I'll share a personal problem with you guys, and we'll see what you think. My lease is up in August, and I don't have a place to go yet. And I have T-minus 1 month to figure out where to go. And right now I'm going to college. The college town I live in is awful. And Utah, unfortunately, is becoming a little unsafe for me as an LGBTQ person. And I don't want any debates about whether or not Utah is safe. I don't want any of that. If you try and debate in the comments, if you try and say anything about that, I will delete the comment and I will block you. I don't care. This is not the conversation. The reason I said that is because of that issue. I have to be a little bit pickier with my apartments, and I have to make sure I'm in an apartment where at least I have my own room and my own bathroom that I can lock. Because in the past, I've had roommates majorly overstep boundaries to try and like out me, and it felt like a witch hunt. And I was getting concerned that they were going to start doing damage to some of the things that I owned. Like I had some medication because I have anxiety and depression, and I started getting worried that they would flush my medication because they didn't know what it was for, and they kept asking me and like, why do you have this? And anyways, my qualifications for an apartment, it's first of all hard to find them, second of all so expensive nowadays, and a lot of the real estate in this college town is being bought up by a certain real estate company that is absolutely trash garbage and is just horrible. All of their apartments have really bad reviews. So my options are very slim, and my options are very expensive because, again, I need to pay for my safety. And I'm just unsure of what to do, because if I wasn't staying in college for another semester, I would probably move out of state for a while and then move back. But you cannot work as a student at this school unless you live in the state. You can be anywhere in the state, you just have to live in the state. And I'm not sure what to do. I've been on the hunt for apartments for months now. I have reached out on all social medias asking people if you know of any place. I guess I'll say the town I'm trying to move to. I'm trying to move to Heber. And I reached out on social media and said, anyone knows of anything in the Heber, Midway, like that kind of circled area, please let me know. But everything is so expensive there. And I've had landlords complaining to me about how no one will buy their $2,000 a month rental contract for a house that you have to share with 5 other people and share a bathroom. I should also add, a lot of places I could afford. Like, I found a place that was relatively good for like $850 a month. It was my own apartment, it would be just me in there, so that was great. But it requires that I make 3 times the rental amount every month. Anyways, so that's my problem. I'm at a point where I'm genuinely thinking that it would be better financially to just live in my car, because like it'll be so much cheaper. If anyone knows what to do, I would appreciate it, because I've got a month to figure out where I'm going once I'm out of this apartment. So that is my problem. Anyways, that was the last question. Okay. They had a mix of like really good base level get to know you questions, and then some other ones that I was like, this is like a marriage therapy conversation. This is a conversation you don't have unless you have to. And also just like, whose death would you find most disturbing? What kind of question is that? What in the freak kind of question is that? Come on. So, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you got some laughs. I'm still playing with these stupid headphones, I don't know why. And yeah, there you go. I'll catch you next week for our part 2 of Nancy Drew Message in a Haunted Mansion, and tomorrow for Barbie Princess Bride, featuring a very special guest. And I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.